Welcome in everybody, Monday morning, DFSArmy.com. I'm your buddy Choppadong, content editor, lead content contributor for DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports. As we get NFL starting to crank and we wind down NBA Summer League, hopefully you guys had great results in whatever DFS sport it is that you guys are pursuing. I'm focused a little bit more on baseball right now, but what I'm going to do, we haven't done this for a while, and I've had a few new members that come in that say, hey, how about a process type video? So let's go back old school. Let's do the actual process start to finish. If you've seen this before, you don't need to pay too much attention other than to see where we're going to go today. But if you've never seen this before, I encourage you to grab a pen and paper, slow down, rewind, kind of internalize this video. This is a process that will get you started in a very basic way. And from there, your own interests and your own coaches that you identify with inside DFS Army or whatever can take you and evolve that process. But as a baseline, this is one place you can start, and it works for a lot of people, whether you're doing ladders or cash games or GPPs or MME or whatever it is that you want to do. We're going to start with a basic repeatable process that we are going to do day in and day out that is going to identify solid players, and then from there it shifts from day to day to day. Different players pop in and pop out, and that's what keeps you variance is going to get you, but that kind of keeps you at least at one baseline of one set of variables that don't change. Because if you're constantly changing this and that, and I'm going to look at this stat today and that stat tomorrow, and no, you're always chasing your tail, and you can't ever tell if what you're doing is working. So let's start you off with something that actually works. And we got a short amount of time to do it, so let's dive right in. First thing we're going to do is go to the MLB Research Station. Under the MLB tab down here, Research Station, we've got a lot of different tools that you can look at, but this is where I start. And I'm going to kick off that game, that afternoon game, and I'm going into the starting pitching matchups page. And what I'm going to do is scroll over here to what I look for, which is the K-score. And I sort that by descending order. I want a high K-score for my pitchers because it tells me a pitcher that strikes out a lot of batters is facing a team that also tends to strike out. That helps me gain upside. Lots of strikeouts erases earned runs, home runs, whatever. It oftentimes gets you up into the 20, 30, 35, 40-point range without getting the win or the quality start, which at least gives you a floor in which you can start from in building your lineups. And we want to make sure we're not doing that necessarily with a $10,000 or $11,000 pitcher, because 30 and 40 points is not enough at that price point. We can oftentimes find guys down here in the $8,000 to $9,000 range. Are they more risky than Clayton Kershaw in his prime? Of course. Are they riskier than Max Scherzer today? Sure. But they have the upside to bring mega value to your lineup and also allow you to afford quality bats. You can stack a little bit with this. You can take some chances. They're sensible chances. We want to get, we want to play safe, but not too safe in baseball. There are other sports where you're going to play a lot more steady type stuff. Baseball's volatile enough. You're going to need to capitalize on some of that to produce some of the bigger scores. So we're going to hunt strikeouts first. And who is facing teams that like to strike out? And in this case, it happens to be Paxton and Snell up top facing each other tonight. That changes from day to day. Down here, these lower numbers, I like numbers over 500. It doesn't mean the 475, the 470 isn't viable. It just means I'm going to get more excited about 500 and above. When I scroll over to the far right-hand side here, I see numbers like Vegas odds to win. I see bullpen rankings that help me understand whether or not my starting pitcher might have the lead held on to should he get it while he's pitching. And then, of course, I slide back over this way, and I can see the matchup, home and away teams, and I can see the price points of the pitchers. What I do personally is I combine all of these into one single page. And I write it down. I've written it down and typed it in today. I always write it down because I type it in faster. But if you just have a notebook, you don't have to do these fancy spreadsheets and junk. And not spreadsheet, whatever this is, table, list. But Paxton starts at the top. Now you're going to need to look for injury news, recency, because he came back and he hasn't been as strong. But you're going to want to look at it on paper based on last year and this year's numbers, a decent sample size. You've got the best pitcher on paper here. Let me show you why. $9,000 salary is affordable. Minus 140 Vegas odds are pretty good. 556 K scores up top. On the slate, 469 W score is, it's okay. The number one bullpen backing him up and facing Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay is a team that can put the thump in the bat. There's no doubt about it. But they've got their hands full today. I'd rather see him face a lesser team, Miami or Detroit or something like that. But, it is what we got. And when we compare it to everybody else on the day, it's one of the stronger, if not the stronger matchups, in my opinion. Why not Blake Snell? He's great too. Well, he's the underdog in this game according to Vegas. Vegas tends to know more than I do, but he's a great pivot. I mean, he's got the same K score, same basic W score, a little weaker bullpen. He's facing the Yankees, which are a little bit tougher probably than Tampa Bay when most people look at the talent up and down the lineup, but he's also $400 more expensive. I get the same K score, same W score, a worse bullpen, probably a worse offense that I'm facing, and I'm the underdog for $400 more. No, I'll save the $400 and get the better situation. Castillo, $700 more than Paxton. Still an underdog? No. Lower K score by a lot? No. Higher W score is pretty much inconsequential. Worse bullpen at Wrigley Field. I don't need to pay $700 more for this situation here when I've already got this in a pretty good spot. So he's out to me. A great GPP pivot again, but he's out to me. Now, Junis, we can pay all the way down. I mean, if we're going to get a 470 K score, you want to pay $6,800 for it or $9,700 for it? You want to pay $6,800 for it, right? Yeah, he's an underdog, a little less of an underdog, pretty inconsequential again. Higher W score, whatever. Worse bullpen, that's bad. Facing Chicago, though, we don't mind facing the White Sox most times. So is Junis viable? Yeah, probably. If you're really wanting to play the fluky bat scenario, which is chasing big bats, want to get into Coors or whatever, you got to really hope your bats go off to make this work. Because Junis is not likely to pitch the game of his life. He might perform well, get in 30, 35 point range, maybe 40, something like that. Probably not going to win you the slate at 60 points. But he's in a matchup that's good, it's favorable, and for the price, you can start debating now whether you like Junis or Paxton. Because that's a $2,200 difference, basically. That's pretty significant. 140 versus 110. I like the 140. I like the favorite. 556 versus 470, no-brainer for me. More strikeout upside with Paxton. Again, provided healthy, provided not on pitch count, provided still pitching fairly well in the past few outings, or at least showing signs of coming back to recent form or traditional form. Better bullpen, whatever. I'm going to pay up the $2,200 for Paxton still, but I don't mind Junis. I mean, he's not super terrible. I would rather play him over Snell or Castillo, honestly. Maybe not Snell. Snell's a coin flip with the Vegas odds, but I'd probably rather play him over Castillo for sure today. Fried, whatever, don't need it. Why am I paying up for Kershaw when I get a way lower K score for $1,300 more? No thanks, I'll pass. Porcello, the minus 200 favorite's what landed him in here at 7,000. We can compare him to Junis. You might like him over Junis because he's facing Toronto, which isn't terrible. He's got a better bullpen backing him up if they get the lead. He's got a better offense probably supporting him. And similar W score, slightly lower K score, but not by a lot. This is what tells the story. It's the big Vegas favorite versus the minus. That doesn't mean he's going to throw a lot of strikeouts and have a dominating performance. It means he might grab you the win and the quality start for the same price. So it depends on where you're going to go. I'd look at their game logs. I'd see who tends to blow up more often. Start comparing and contrasting that way. But it's either you're paying down to these couple of spots or you're just probably taking Paxton. Maybe Snell if Paxton looks like trash. But Vegas doesn't typically get these things wrong, and his K score is there. That's who I like. I do the same thing down here for pitchers against, where I look at their SIERA, their WHIP, home run per 9, walk per 9, things like that. And I go back to the research station to pull that one off. I slide over here to DFSA grade. I sort that by descending. And I push all of the schleps to the bottom. Anything under about a 30 gets my eye, so I'm going to start with Eflin and below. Oops, I should stay in that category, actually. And scroll over here to look at the WHIP, SIERA, and this is where I find these numbers. So anything over in here is going to catch my eye, but I'm going to scroll over. I'm going to write these guys down for guys that I would stack against, because bad pitching is who we stack against. I'm going to slide over here, and I'm going to look at numbers like SIERA, 4.75, bad. 4.89, 4.84, Giolito and Plutko, bad. These pinks, bad. I'm looking for dark reds, though. High whips, walks plus hits per innings pitched. These are pitchers that I'm going to start, again, checking boxes. I'm going to look at a pitcher like Thornton and say, All right, 3.9 walks per nine is pretty high. 1.3 home runs per nine is okay, but a little bit bad. 1.48 whip is bad. 4.75 is bad. Stack against it. Done. Right? I can look even up here at Plutko, 53% fly balls, 2.47 home runs per nine, 4.89 Sierra, stack against it. Most of these categories are coming off red for a lot of these bottom pitchers. These are pitchers we want to be stacking against. So we're going to want to be using teams like, well, Detroit, okay. You would like to see a Boston go up against a guy like this, but you get what you get. Detroit, LA, Atlanta, Cleveland, Boston. There's Boston, LA. These are teams that are poised to do fairly well. But there's another factor that we want to look at too, because we would like to see a powerful offense that's swinging the bat well, going up against a soft pitcher, and we find a bunch of mediocrity down here where we don't find a lot of big juggernaut offenses outside of maybe Boston. LA's been hot lately. Atlanta has a lot of potential. I guess Dodgers are there too. So maybe we do. But I would like to see a little bit more confirmation. See who is most likely to land in the stacks. They'd be the popular stacks. I come over here to the batters matchups section next. And I'm targeting teams. I want to come through here by DFSA grade, which shows me the overall matchup of these batters. Who's in the good spots? It's looking at the exact same things I'm looking at when I'm doing this manually. You could just skip all these steps and go right to DFSA grade. And I hold the control button down, I click on both of these, the catcher and the first baseman, since they're combined on FanDuel. And I start writing down. I don't need to look too much at how great these guys are. I can use a number like over 80. I can use a number like over 75, whatever if I want to. But I can look quickly at who are the top ranked DFSA grade players. Okay, Peterson, Iannetta, Murphy, Grandal, Santana, Freeman, Bell. And that's probably about where you stop, right? Now here's what I'm going to do, and this is where you're going to have to be writing this stuff down. I'm going to go to the second baseman. I'm going to do the same thing. Muncy, Holt, McMahon, Goodrum, Kemp, Altuve. I'm starting to see a couple of Dodgers. I'm starting to see a couple of Rockies. I'm starting to see a couple of Astros, right? Third base, Carpenter. And this is the thing about Carpenter. I would really, really watch out for him. Dude has been lost, striking out at a tremendous clip. His OBP is down. He's hitting into the shift, and it's bad news. He's riding on last year's numbers. I don't know where this matchup is skewed, and it's probably wrong. If he hits a bomb today, I'll eat it. But he was the number one third baseman yesterday, and he didn't get you a lot. I'm telling you, if you see somebody like that up top, if you follow along and follow how much the shift hurts certain guys, you just dismiss that. Candelario, Devers is Boston, obviously. Now you've got Colorado, Cleveland, Atlanta. So LA down here. So we're starting to get some repeats in this category. If I go over to shortstop and show you Bregman, Lindor, Story, same teams, LA, Boston, starting to appear in these top 5, top 7, top 10 names. Go to outfield. Trout, Bellinger, Blackman, Ohtani, Dahl, Betts, Verdugo. These are guys that are all in good matchups. So if I look, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Dodgers in these top 5 to 10 matchups per position. I see Peterson, Muncy, Turner, Seager, Bellinger, Verdugo, right? LA's probably a pretty good stack tonight. It's not rocket science, guys. You don't need this to really be some fancy schmancy looking at all these goofy metrics. And just get a tool that shows you who's typically in a good matchup and let it do all that work for you. Save yourself some time. You don't need to go blind on X zone, Z zone, inside the launch angle. You don't need all that crap. You can use it if you want, but you don't need it to get off to a good start, a foundationally solid start that points you in the right direction for your more pointed research. Notice I'm not looking at Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Toronto, even the Cubs. I'm not looking at these teams today because they don't face good or bad pitching. They don't find themselves in good matchups necessarily. If they go off tonight, it's a little more of an outlier, and it's also going to be less popular because people are going to see what I'm showing you, which is Dodgers. If you look at Colorado with Iannetta, Murphy, McMahon, Arenado, Story, Blackman, right? Colorado's going to be popular. Who else is in there? Cleveland, Santana, Jose Ramirez, Lindor, Luplow. There's 4 Cleveland guys. Atlanta with Freeman, Albies, Donaldson, Swanson, Acuna. There's 4 or 5 Atlanta guys. These are guys that are going to be in pretty good spots to stack. You know, we mentioned Boston. Let me see if I can find Boston. Holt, Devers, Bogarts, Betts, Martinez, right? And if I round it out with Houston and said we've got Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Brantley, maybe a Reddick. These guys are all in good matchups and good spots. These are teams you can stack around and be fairly confident that some of these teams should perform tonight. It's baseball. They won't all perform, but some of them will. Most of them might. And you know, bats are flukier than arms for sure. You want to anchor your lineup with a solid arm that's in a good upside matchup with a decent floor. And then you want to see if you can't get some bats stacked around it, because you're going to want that correlation. You're going to want to target the weak pitching. You know, I wouldn't fault you if you said, I want 2 bats from LA, 2 bats from Cleveland, 2 bats from Atlanta, 2 bats from Colorado, because I don't want to go all in on a particular offense, have that offense fall flat, and then bomb my entire lineup. And that's fine. That's more of a cash thinking mindset, and it's fine. It's safer. But there's no such thing as complete safety in baseball, because it's such a volatile sport anyway. If these lineups go off, if Boston goes off, if Coors goes off, or whatever, you're going to want as many bats from those lineups as possible. So you can either become a boomer bust type of player or a little bit more conservative, but you're going to have to realize it's still going to be volatile and the games are still going to go up and down. Okay, but this is how we do it. The last thing that I check is I check the trends tab here because I want to see who's actually running hot. Out of all of those names that I just picked, sort by DFSA grade if you want, or you can sort by the L7 WOBA, which is one of my favorite stats that we offer. And I'm going to go position by position again. And I'm going to see which guys do I think are on this list of the guys that are in good matchups with high DFSA grades. Obviously, Murphy's on there, so Murphy should be a first baseman that I should look at tonight, right? I can scroll down a little bit. If I want to take some cheaper options, gamble a little bit, Contreras, Thames, whatever, fine. But they're not in those big stacks that were in those top 5 or 10 matchups in the DFSA grade. This one was not. You got to come all the way down here to Aguilar or even a Carlos Santana. Okay, if this number is still over a 400, I'm going to like it. WOBA is weighted on base average, which means doubles are worth more than singles. A triple's worth more than a walk. High WOBAs lead to high fantasy points. If you hit for some power and hit some home runs in there, your WOBA jumps. A high WOBA indicates that a guy is doing some damage like that. So what we need to be doing is focusing on guys that are hitting well right now for high WOBAs, that are in great matchups with a good DFSA grade, or in one of those offenses that is set to go off. It's not rocket science, okay? But this is a good way to form. Pick your pitcher. Then pick the bad pitchers on the slate and start looking to stack against them in what makes sense. Use these metrics, use this research station to start identifying where the good matchups are with DFSA grade or other numbers that you learn to look at, and then go into that L7 WOBA and verify that some of those guys are running hot. If some of those guys are running hot, stack that offense because you've got hot bats going up against bad pitching. That's what you're looking for. This is what we teach you to do inside DFSArmy.com. We're bumping up on 20 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and bail and get out of here because I got a lot of stuff to do today. But hopefully this helps you see a fundamental process. We teach first inside DFS Army. We play second. Our job is to make you a better player. If you like this video, you hit the like button, you subscribe to the channel, and you ring the notification bell. You will get videos dropped to your phone when they are released. And you can always see what we're doing inside DFS Army. You catch lots of little tips like this, process videos, or how to look at certain tools. We're going to do an even bigger job of teaching now. We're bringing a couple of more people on board. You're going to want to follow them too. And we're getting set for NFL. We're really going to blow this season up. So get in here today. Use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, trigger 20% off discount. And I'll drop the link to the website down in the comments section because that's what you're going to want to join to turn your game around. And you don't need to take a lot of time to do this. We got coaching picks, pages, and everything for the real busy guy. This only took 20 minutes, and I broke down an entire player pool for you. Everybody's got 20 minutes to play DFS. Come on, jump in, guys. Have fun with us. We'll see you inside DFSArmy.com.